Agents and investors nationwide. Today is Thursday, December 1st, 2022. And this is All the Leads Mastermind podcast number 405. I wanted to start with just a little theme, a recurring theme that I've seen lately. On a regular basis, I call all of our clients, our subscribers that kind of decide to go on hold and take a break. One of the recurring themes that we see every year, and we always kind of remind you guys, but I think it's worth repeating. I'm hearing a huge number of people say, well, I'm just taking December off and I'll be back in January. And two very obvious reminders that I know you all know. Your December leads will still be very fresh in January. 98% of them will still be good. And secondly, I've quoted one of my original mentors in the business many times: figure out what everybody else is doing and do the opposite. I would just ask you a really basic question. Would you rather work probate or any kind of leads when all of your competition is working, or would you rather work them this month when, maybe 50-60% of them are taking the month off? So let the numbers work to your favor. I'm not saying you shouldn't take time and enjoy the holidays, but take advantage when your competition isn't. And this is a really good month to double down on your prospecting. Bruce?
Absolutely. I could not agree more. I would quickly like to talk to you guys about how to interact with us first, but man, I've got to piggyback on what Jim just said. So much so that I shot a video earlier today, and I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a sneak peek of that video. It's just a story that I had. But first, let me tell you guys that this call is for you. We want your questions, your comments, your wins. We want to hear from you guys. So do not be shy. Throw those cameras on. Raise your hands. We want to hear from you. This is going to be a podcast, so it's going to go out and reach a lot of people. And it's pretty boring for those listening later when it's just the three or four of us talking to ourselves over and over again. So hands up with any questions that you have, no matter how basic or advanced they are. If they're really advanced, might be over my head, but maybe not. And if you're not a subscriber of All the Leads, I want to tell you guys briefly what we do. We provide life transition leads, probate, pre-probate, and divorce leads to folks that are looking to expand their business and get more listings. Okay, it's not all listings. It can be purchases if you're an investor, and of course, a lot of these people are multiple deal clients that you're going to have. So if you're a real estate agent and want buyers, there's lots of buyers in here as well. Now, with all that said, let me tell you guys about something that I experienced several years ago. I was getting a lot of business out of radio advertising in a different market from where I live now. And we'd been running radio ads for a couple of different years. And one November, we decided to run a very specific ad. And it actually got us in almost in a little bit of trouble. It ruffled some feathers of some of the agents that we were competing with. And the ad basically said this: it's the start of November, and that means a couple of different things. It means it's the start of cold weather. It's time for you to start thinking about the holidays. And it's also the beginning of your real estate agent's 3-month vacation. And it's absolutely true. Most of your competitors, whether investors or real estate agents, are going to take the approach that nobody wants to do business around the holidays. And so I'm going to use this time and take off. It's a little bit slower. I'm going to take off. Now, because we were on a very popular country radio station that lots and lots and lots of people listened to, we had some real estate agents that heard that ad, and boy, did they lose their minds. If you're in my market, don't chime in. Or if you were in that old market, don't chime in, because you probably hated me at that time as well. We had 5 or 6 different real estate commission complaints, which we did not violate any laws, rules, or codes of ethics. We simply pointed out that we're different than other agents and investors that often take off during the holidays. So we had complaints. We had people talking about us on social media, and better We had dozens of calls each day that we ran that ad with people saying, I've not been able to sell a house because I can't track my real estate agent. They're always busy. They're always traveling. I can't get them. And you know what? I want you guys to list my house. And for the most part, everyone that called in and talked to us and that we ended up listing their house off of that maybe 1 week run on the ad, pretty much everyone said, hey, we're not going to do anything during December, but we're listing during January. So I'm here to tell you guys that right now you have a clean, clear runway. Think about an airport. Your airport is normally crowded. How many of you have sat on a tarmac for 30, 40, 60 minutes waiting on just the runway to clear up from other ground traffic? That's what it's normally like when you're prospecting. There are plenty of other people in the mailboxes and plenty of other people on the phones prospecting. Not now. Your competitors are taking off. They're not clogging up the phone lines and the mailboxes. Not that they normally are in probate, but they're definitely not right now because most people are laying low. Your consumers and your prospects that you're going after right now, they may not be making decisions for December, but they are absolutely having meetings with family. They're taking the extra time off to think about and get their stuff in order. They are making decisions for January and February right now. So if they're having the time to have those conversations about what they're going to do with real estate right now, and your competitors are out of their mailbox or out of their phone line, now's the time for you to build rapport, gather the information, and set those appointments for yourself in January. So instead of laying off, double down. It works. I promise you it works. I promise you from experience it works. So this would be the time to expand what you're doing. All right. With that said, let me go to my coaches. Anything else? And anyone that does have any questions, throw your hands up. You can do that by clicking the reactions button at the bottom of your screen and click the raise your hand. If you're watching this on live stream, YouTube or Facebook, you can chat your comments in. We are monitoring those comments and they'll come to us coaches. We'll be able to answer your questions if they're chatted, but I'd love to see your faces with those questions, comments, success stories.
I'll just give you two things. One is just to tag on to what both of you said. You know, there's a significant difference between the probate business and the real estate business. And you may think, well, why is that? Well, think about the issues of why probate is what it is and why people are doing what they're doing. They're doing it because of a motivating factor. Somebody passed away. This is the time of the year, and this is the most important thing I think about what Bruce just said, is that it's a time of the year where families are together. They probably were together during Thanksgiving. During Thanksgiving, they may have said, you know, we're going to see each other again at Christmas. We've got to make some decisions. And now's the time you want to be top of mind more than any other time you could possibly be. This is the time you want to be there. This is the time to put out that high value mailing piece. Make sure that you're in front of them with something that makes sure that you're the person that they think of. It's also the time to make sure, if you've talked to them before, you renew that conversation and say, look, I don't know if you got together with your family during the holidays. You're probably going to see them during the holidays. And right now, interest rates have come back down a little bit. People are back in the marketplace that weren't there before. We've got a little bit of a bubble going on in the other direction. Certainly it's happening in our marketplace. And of all the times that you want to be in top of mind, there couldn't be a higher opportunity than there is right now for specifically that. The holidays are working in your favor. And it's not the regular real estate business. This is an industry that is dominated by that. Right now, that discussion has to happen. So the PR and the families are likely to get those meetings out of the way over the holidays. And that's when you've got to be there. Otherwise, you're going to miss out. So I'd jump right on that. I have one other thing. This is just more perspective than anything else. I spent the morning this morning. My son came by, and I always press him into service when we do this evil deed. We have a dump trailer, and we're having our holiday party this weekend for all the people in the company, and so we've got a pilgrimage for everybody coming to Florida, and we have a farm, and so we're having it at the farm this year, and we're going to have a good time and all that. So we're cleaning up. Well, we had to take the dump trailer to the dump this morning. And I was reminded about very quickly about the blessings of life and, what we have and what we're blessed with and what we do and don't do. And our landfill where we have to take things is way out in the country. And it's, I believe, the second tallest mountain in Florida is our particular landfill. And we got up to the top and there were no employees up there. And I mean, it's a trek to get up there, and you got to have 4-wheel drive and a lot to it. And the people that were up there were literally volunteer people who have other jobs in the county. And because of illness and people getting laid off and all that, they were all up there working this morning, and among a gazillion birds and lovely aroma and all of that. And they're up there giving their time to go do this. And how appreciative I was of the fact that there are people up there, giving their time to make it possible so that we can do the things that we need to go do. And, we're sitting here in warm rooms and well-fed, and in some cases overly well-fed. We've had a great holiday and all that. So I'd urge you to be really appreciative of things that go on around you this time of the year, a little bit more than you would normal times. And I certainly was this morning. And that sounds a little preachy, but it's a pretty cool time to be thinking about things that are going on. But back to what Bruce said, make sure that you do get out there. You want to put something out real quick to your list of people so that you're top of mind. We'll be glad to help you get that done. And we look forward to working with you through the holidays. We're going to be here and we're rocking and rolling.
Good deal. Thanks, Tim. Okay, let's go to I think it's Tamia. You're gonna have to pronounce your name for me. Let me ask you to unmute yourself. Let's see if you can unmute yourself. All right, Maya, and I swear I'm butchering your name. I'm gonna go to Sheila real quick, and then we'll come back to you here in a moment.
I just wanted to say hello, happy holidays. I got a phone call this morning from a gentleman I have been trying to reach since I spoke with him in August. I actually sent him a letter yesterday because I couldn't get a hold of him on the phone. So the letter's en route. He calls me. He says, Sheila, I'm sorry I haven't answered my phone. I want to go ahead and sell my dad's house. I want to be done with it. What do I do? So this is August to November. I mean, it takes a while, but if you just keep on touching base with them every couple of weeks and trying to get a hold of them, they're going to remember you.
They do remember. What we find, Sheila, and I know you find this, you probably make more calls than any of us. What we find in those first several rounds of phone calls, and I'm saying 2 to 3 phone calls, are you're going to identify the profile, the avatar of the individual that picks the phone up.
Mm-hmm.
If you've made it through, let's say 3 calls to a particular number and they haven't answered, you can safely assume that they're the type of person that really just isn't going to answer an unknown call. That does not mean that you're not going to catch them on the phone. It means that they're just not your low-hanging fruit. If you continue to stay in touch with them, you continue to reach out. You may not do it every week at that point, but you continue to reach out, especially if you're pairing it with mail. What you're going to find is a month, 4, 5, sometimes 6, the person that has never picked the phone up, never responded to you, is going to call you one day and say, hey, I've been thinking about this. I haven't been ignoring you. What do I need to do? Exactly the conversation that you just had. And so your story is an absolute testament to something that we've been saying for a while. Mm-hmm. You can be ghosted for 5 months in a row, and all of a sudden your best client raises their hand because you've stayed in front of them when everybody else quit after the 3rd call that they didn't answer, after the 2nd letter without a response. That's where your competitors quit. If you stay with it, they'll pop back up when they're ready.
Mhm.
Unlikely. I mean, you might only get 2 or 3% of them to answer the phone um, uh, on that fourth call, that fifth call. It's really low, but it doesn't mean that they're not hearing you, paying attention, and kind of establishing, or you're establishing your credibility in their mind during the grunt work, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, it's just part of the pipeline. You just have to keep on building it up and eventually, something's going to pop.
Hmm. Yep, absolutely. Coaches?
No, I was gonna say, please call back next week. Let us know after you get the listing.
Okay.
Follow up with that story, please.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thanks, Sheila. Thanks so
Thanks.
much. Tamaya, let's go ahead and try you again. I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself, and at that point, you will correct me for my awful pronunciation of your name. Can you unmute yourself?
Bruce, you may not know how. Want to tell her how to unmute?
We
I have no idea.
actually got a text message in from her, and she texted into the call and said she was commenting on the fact that she loved our backdrop. She may not have wanted to say anything, and if not, that's fine. I'm gonna maybe if we can, I'm gonna lower her hand, and Tamaya, if you want to come back on and talk, please feel free to do that. You will need to unmute yourself to do it, but we don't want to ignore you. But I think that was what she wanted to tell us.
Okay, awesome. Sounds good. So Tim chatted in and asked if anyone had a workflow for new leads, letters, emails, texts, etc. Absolutely. A workflow it's never an exactly precise thing. So the general workflow that I'm going to give you here is something that you should completely adjust. As someone that prospects probates, pre-probates, lots of different lead sources, every 6 months I'm going in and making little adjustments. If something doesn't seem to have generated business for me in the last 3 months, 6 months, I'll make a tweak or adjustment to it. So you guys should be doing the same thing. But for the most part, in your average market, now if you're in LA or if you're in an extremely rural market, you might want to make some adjustments to this. But in your typical market, you're going to want to put a plan together that lasts for at least 6 months. So let's talk about phone calls first. Then we'll go to letters, texts, things like that. So phone calls, if you have the bandwidth. So in an absolutely perfect world, what I would want to be doing with a call is I'd want to pretty much call them immediately. Some people are going to call after that very first letter that lands in their mailbox. That makes sense as well. But I'm going to call them within the first week. If they don't answer the phone, I'm going to try to call them again within a couple of days. Then again, maybe a week later. I want to figure out with 3 calls if they're the type of person that's going to answer the phone or not. If they're not, then I'll just put them on a monthly calling campaign. So every single month, I'm going to call them one time. But I want to figure out if they're the type of person that answers during that first week to 2 weeks with at least 3, if not 4 calls. Once you've had a conversation with them, you should 100% be flagging them for follow-up. Now, one of the things that we run into really often is we run into people that'll answer the phone and you say, hey, can I speak with Jim? And someone named Jim will say, nope, sorry, you have the wrong number. Flag that person for follow-up. I can't tell you how many times, and some of you will judge me, that's okay. How many times I've gotten a call, I'm walking into a meeting, and rather than kind of come up with an excuse or a way to get off the phone, they'll say, is Bruce there? And I'll say, oh, sorry, no, you have the wrong number. A week later, someone might call me and I'll tell them the truth. I have the time, I have the bandwidth to engage in that conversation. So people lie. Buyers are liars. So if somebody says wrong number, don't immediately come back to us and say, oh yeah, your numbers are junk. There are plenty of times you get the same number and it's the person that's willing to engage with you. So during that first couple of rounds of calls, you're looking for information and rapport. Those are your primary objectives on your initial call on your initial conversations, information and rapport. We all want appointments. We all want listings. We all want purchase agreements put together. You can't get those if you don't go down the path of establishing rapport and collecting information. So what you're looking for are loose threads in your conversation. You're looking for them to say things like, "Oh no, I'm not ready to sell the house yet." And a lot of people hear, your competitors will hear, "I'm not ready to sell the house yet," and go, "Junk lead, I'm never going to call them again." And the loose thread there is the word "yet." Okay, so that gives you the information, and if you can tactfully navigate that call, you'll be in really good shape. Information and rapport, and then appointment second. So that's going to be the first part of your prospecting process is call. The next equally important part is get in their mailbox. I mentioned to Sheila a little bit ago that many times I'll think that my efforts are completely going to waste. I will have called them 8 times. I will have mailed them anywhere from 4 to 8 times, and I'm not hearing anything. And then all of a sudden in month number 5, somebody answers the phone or they call me back and they say, "Yeah, I've been getting your letters. I've gotten your voicemails. I wasn't trying to ignore you." So I want you guys in that mailbox for 5, 6, 7 months. If you're in a really rural market, you can get by with 2 or 3 months. If you're in a really busy market, you probably need to step up your mailing campaign a little bit. So I want you in their mailbox at least every month. But you guys should know that I always wait. I always go more aggressive in the beginning of a campaign. So I might be mailing every 2 to 3 weeks during the first month or two. I'm probably calling 3 or 4 times during those first couple of weeks as well. And then as I figure out who's not going to immediately respond, I'll pull my calls and mail back to once a month. Texts, you could do a lot of things with text messages as well. Personally, I don't text someone until after that first couple of weeks of calls. I don't have a good argument for that. So some of you are going to want to mix a text in as well. I would not text and ignore calling though. So if you're gonna text, you better also be calling. If they don't answer, you might follow it up with a text and a voicemail. All right, and that's the general approach. Pretty easy, hopefully.
Just want to, and I know we got three hands in the air, and two things. One is a couple of people, and he'll be glad to know this too. Chuck has been missed. There are 2 or 3 people in the online chat who've asked where Chuck is, and no, we haven't shot Chuck. Chuck is just, he was tied up early in the meeting. I don't know if he's going to be with us today or not. He's got some stuff he was working on, and I think he may have been dealing with somebody in a coaching environment, needed to get them through it. And that's our first commitment. We get that stuff taken care of first. So he let us know he was going to either be late or possibly not make it today, but thanks for asking, and we'll let him know for sure that that's coming. And I'm glad to know that that's the case. And the only other thing that I would add, again, back to what Bruce said, is that, everybody thinks it's a matter of budget and everything else, but you need to think about what is that next opportunity worth to you? What's the value of that next listing, the value of that next sale? And as many times as you can be in front of your potential customer as you can, that's how many times you need to be in front of them. And I'm not saying do it every single day and, fill their inbox with junk mail and fill their mailbox with junk mail and text them until they threaten you, threaten your life and shut you off and do all that. But be responsible about it. But man, again, back to what we said to start with, this is the time to rock and roll. Make it happen now. You will not regret it. It's a great way to get your year started. They'll remember you. You're the person that was there doing this now, and it's important. We got 3 hands in the air. Bruce, you want to Mia is back, and I'm going to ask her to unmute if you're ready to talk to her.
We're ready.
All right, we had her unmuted before, and now she's ready. Go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me?
We can.
Is there feedback?
A little bit, but it's okay.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I have y'all on 2 devices, that's why, and I don't know which one is responding to my voice. So I don't want to shut
You're
the
good
door
now.
if I'm off.
You're fine right now. Go ahead.
Okay, great. So I have 2 questions. Okay. I have an administrator that wants to sell a property, but they want a loan or a portion of the money up front for the sale. I don't want to risk loaning my own personal money. Do you have any suggestions?
Well,
Take it or you want me to take it?
Tim?
no, I'll take
Bruce?
it, and I'm gonna this is gonna freak some people out a little bit, and it's gonna require a very specific type of contract. I'm looking through my Zoom screens here and seeing a couple of my fellow North Carolinians here, and this is gonna sound normal to us, but not normal to most of the rest of you guys. So, Steve, I'm looking at Steve Jones. In North Carolina, we have a due diligence process, and basically what we do here is we chop our initial deposits into two different bites. So where most of you guys have just an earnest money deposit that's provided and typically held by a real estate firm or an attorney or a title company when you go into contract. In North Carolina, we actually chop earnest money into two sections. And the first is due diligence, and it goes directly to the seller, straight to the seller. They put that money in their bank account. It is their money. It applies to the purchase price though. And if you back out of the deal, they keep it unless you can prove that they lied. So buyers in North Carolina, the first times that they hear that, they panic. They're like, I don't want to lose money. I don't want to put anything that I can't get back in, and it's true, they can't get it back unless they can prove seller fraud. So you don't want to do something like that if you feel like you might back out for something. You need to be very certain of that. We do, at least in my market, things got a little out of hand, admittedly, but there were big portions of the deposit that were going into due diligence and straight into the seller's account. I saw hundreds of thousands of dollars being delivered in due diligence. Please don't rush out and do that if you don't have to. But you could always structure your deal in a way where you give the seller a portion of that purchase price up front as a deposit. And if you back out, it's a loss. In North Carolina, it started at like $500. Then it got up into the thousands and tens of thousands for the average due diligence. But that is absolutely something that you could do. You want to make sure that whatever contract you use gives you some significant protection. You can't have a seller that just refuses to close without some recourse on your end. So that's a way that you could do that. You could also do the kind of run through the cash advance program. That would be something you could do for a really, really short period of time, is get the administrator, as long as they're an heir and can prove it through probate cash, you could get them a cash advance and then go into your regular purchase agreement. Jim, Tim, can you guys think of any other ways that they could go about that?
I was gonna focus on the probate cash side of it at all, and you have a link to that on our site. Simply go there and fill out the information. It's a simple form, and if there is a provable ability for them to get paid based on a will or some provable piece of this, then the folks at Probate Cash will be able to get you some dough, and you're not at risk doing it, and you look like a hero to the people that are looking for the money. And that's a quick way to do it. And they're very, very responsive. They move very quickly, and we know that they'll do anywhere from $5,000 to $500,000, and strictly based on what can be shown to be get people having the ability to pay it back. But for sure that's the case. And you just go to admin.alltheleads.com/cash advance.
And if you're looking on Zoom, there's a link there. Sorry, Tamaya, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I just was gonna say they passed intestate. They don't have a will. So is that make them ineligible?
I got no shot there. I couldn't understand that. I'm sorry.
Okay, so if it's intestate and they do not have a will, does that make them ineligible?
Probably. And the issue there is that it doesn't necessarily make them ineligible. What it means is that you're going to have a problem in terms of clearly demonstrating. It doesn't mean it won't happen. It's just that getting quick access requires a chain that says attorney is the person that's going to answer that question. And if you deal with the local attorney, you can get an answer there and find out from the local attorney in regard to how this is likely to be settled out. And if attorney can give an opinion about the person who is likely to inherit, and the person who's likely to inherit will do an assignment of proceeds out of that, it's possible they can get that done. But I don't want to speak for the money people because I'm not the loan officer, and these aren't loans, these are advances. So I think that's something I'd fill the form out, see what you've got, nothing to lose by getting the form filled out, and take a
Great.
shot at doing that.
Thank you. That's great information. Do I have time for one more question? It should be a quick one.
Yeah, real quick.
Try to mute one of your devices. Mute one. If it's the wrong one, we'll tell you that we can't hear you, and you can mute the other one out.
Okay.
It's worse than it was before.
All right. Does this sound a little better?
Yes.
Okay, so I have an additional property under contract, and it looks like the county administrator will become the administrator of the estate. I don't have any experience with this. Does anyone know what this may look like, how this may unfold? Is it a slower process, more additional paperwork?
No, it won't be a lot of additional paperwork. Matter of fact, you want this scenario, because if they're becoming the administrator of this estate, then and you do a great job, build a great relationship with the county administrator, this could be a steady pipeline of business for you moving forward. Could it slow things down a little bit? Yes, it depends on how busy the administrator is. But there shouldn't be a lot of extra paperwork. What you want to present yourself to them is, look, if you I know this is not a normal real estate deal, so use me almost like an attorney would use a paralegal. If there are errands that you need taken care of, processes that you need to complete that are just piled up on your desk that you don't have time to get to, I'm here for you. And that's going to be a great area to build some rapport and a good working relationship with the county administrator. This is always my dream when I find out that somebody else is going to be the administrator, especially if it's someone within the court or government system, because they're doing this for other people. And if I can kill it, I'm going to get their business moving forward on lots and lots of additional pieces of real estate.
Okay, awesome. I'm
It won't be
smiling now.
that complicated though.
Thank you.
All right, perfect. So we've got 3 other hands up. I have quite a few chatted in questions. So let me go to one of the chats, and then we're going to go to Andrew, and I'm going to seesaw back and forth between the chats on our streaming devices and our hands that are raised. So I've got a user that said that they have an administrator that's a son that has not paid the mortgage on real estate that's in probate for 2.5 years, and it's set to be foreclosed on December 16th. He got the listing, great job. Son seems to think that that if the home is foreclosed, that the bank is going to give him the equity after the property has been sold. All right. Attorney's not taking the calls because the attorney wanted a different realtor. That's kind of a crappy attorney. I don't want to say it's absolutely not true that the estate or the son couldn't get equity. There are some states that if you file go through a very particular process after a house has been foreclosed, that during a specific window of time, you can carve back any equity, any gain that the bank had or the government had, whoever actually buys it at the foreclosure. There are some states, Minnesota would be one of those. I'm not sure if Nevada would be one, but it's very rare and it's complicated. So no, it doesn't automatically happen, and this son needs to know that it's 100% in his best interest to get the sale done. So get a authorization to release information signed by the estate or the son, whoever owns the real estate now. Communicate with the bank, send it into the bank, and see if you can stop the foreclosure. The best way to do it is to also send them a copy of the listing, just like you were processing a short sale. Even better is if you can get a quick offer and send them a copy of the offer. A lot of times they'll stay the foreclosure that's imminent right now. It's unlikely that this person's going to get any equity if the bank sells for more money than they're owed. And even if they would give the equity back, there's a complicated legal process or complicated process to go through, even if it applies in your state. And I don't know if it does. All right, perfect. Hopefully that helped. Let's go to Andrew. Andrew, if you would unmute yourself, what do you got for us today?
Hey, Bruce. So kind of piggybacking on two previous conversations. So regarding beginner plan, did I hear you correctly that, let's say if you're in LA or South California, you have a different kind of follow-up plan versus the one you kind of listed for the rest of the country? And the second question is, how do I get kind of on a probate lawyer referral list? I understand one of them is bringing them business, but let's say how do you get there without, or let's say in the beginning?
So process, as far as the marketing and prospecting process in a major metro area where you suspect there's competition, and I'm borderline where I am. I'm not in a major metro area, but there's certainly competition, and it's not all from all the leads either. So in areas where you suspect there's competition, you either want to go more aggressive in the beginning, or nothing at all in the very first month. So one of the two. If you do nothing at all during that first month, you are going to miss out on low-hanging fruit. There's absolutely low-hanging fruit. So I would tend to go more aggressive. Now, the benefit of doing nothing at all during the first month is your competitors completely burn out. They burn through their budget. By the time you pick it up, starting at the beginning of month 2,
I'll use several text messages.
half of the prospects or half of your competitors will quit at the end of month 1. So some people in a major metro area might lay a little bit low during the first month and let their competitors kind of burn out, because we know that it's 4, 5, 6 months before a bunch of these really sell. But I would tend to go more aggressive in the beginning if I'm in a major metro area with competitors. So you either want to make more noise than your competitor does and get more attention, or let the noise quiet down after that first 30 days or so. One of the two. Ultimately, you have to make adjustments and test things out in your market and see what works better for you. So you might try both. I'd try more aggressive to begin with, though.
Define more aggressive. Is that, let's say
hypothetical, weekly letter, call every 3 days for 2 weeks. Hypothetical, right? I'm kind of giving this to, we don't oversell counties, but there's certainly other people in Southern California that will listen to this. So whatever I'm saying here, you might want to put your own spin on it. But you may go weekly for 3 weeks, or bi-weekly for a month and a half, something like that. If I was going to go weekly or bi-weekly, I would mix in a couple of postcards with your letters as well. Another big thing that you might want to do is send one really, really high value piece. We're talking about come up with a vendor flyer, put a brochure in a box. You might want to put a pre-listing packet in. And I'm brainstorming here. I'm winging it. So I'm not telling other people to do this specific thing, but send something that's just loaded with information in a box, or a big flat cardboard envelope, something that is much more memorable in the beginning if you want to stand out.
Cool. And thank you for that. And what would be how would I get on the probate lawyer referral list?
Pick your top 5, your top 10, whatever your bandwidth is. Pick your top certain number of attorneys that you're going to go after. Show up to their office every single month with a box of donuts or cookies or mints or chocolates or something, and leave it on the gatekeeper's desk with a brochure of what you do. Ask if you could grab 5 minutes with the probate attorney. If they say no, guess what? You show up a month later with the exact same thing, and a month later with the exact same thing. Always trying to get in front of the probate attorney that you want. It's a long play, so I know you're looking for short. There is no shortcut. You either catch someone at the right time or you don't. And if you don't catch them at the right time, there will come another right time. We just don't know if it's going to be on month number 1 or month number 6. So you
However,
gotta stay in
that's
front.
the free approach. And if you're serious about doing it and you want to get it done and you want to get that audience, realize what they do for a living, and they sell time. And if you need to go do that, go buy an hour of their time. Call the office and book an hour of their time. And that gets you in the door. You avoid it's kind of like organic traffic versus paid advertising. Analogy there. If you really want to get it done, you're committed to doing it, find the top attorney on that list and show up. Say, what's an hour of Attorney Smith's time? And get on their calendar.
Thanks,
And
Tim.
Bruce, we've had a number of the cookies, the sweets, those kind of things are great. We've had a number of agents tell us that they've had very good success just with a trifold brochure.
Mhm.
And they'll actually get calls from the attorney that say, hey, your brochures are empty. Can you bring some more back?
Yep.
So, do
Oh,
a
yeah.
co-branding, do a co-branding piece also, maybe put the attorney's name on it as well as your name. And all of a sudden you're doing some advertising for him. That's going to get his attention.
Great idea. Great idea. You could always send mailers directly to the attorneys as well. Whatever you do, the point of it is, unless you buy an hour of their time, you might not want to do that every month. Doing that once has a splash, but you could also, not also, whatever you do, you want to make sure that it's steady and consistent. So if it's mail, steady and consistent. If it's dropping brochures off, steady and consistent, month after month. If it's showing up with sweets, steady and consistent. Don't quit, because most of the time you're quitting really close to when they're going to start referring you business. And it's the same thing with your prospects as well. You quit after month 2, you're going to miss all those people that did what Sheila just got today.
And be ready. The other thing that's important is whether you're buying the time or you're finally finding a way to get in there for free, make sure that you're ready. Make sure that you know what you want to ask. Make sure you know what your objective is. Make sure you've got your USP together, who you are, what makes you unique, and what value are you bringing to that attorney? What can you do that's going to make their life easier, that's going to expedite the process of getting probate closed? Why should they bother to talk with you? Why should they bother to help you out? You need to make sure that you make that case very, very well, so that when you're there, you don't waste a second of that time. You want to ask them good questions. You want to ask them procedural questions, the things that you don't know in your market. If you're buying their time, they're there to answer your questions. Make sure you have a lot of them. Make sure you got your act together.
Mm-hmm.
Don't just show up and go, well, I'm sure I can get your business. That doesn't work very well.
Got it. Thanks, Tim. So let's say if I go to the courthouse, to the clerk, to the little window thing, would they know kind of the top lawyers that show up there over and over again? Would that be kind of a good way of vetting the kind of the top lawyers, or just kind of the more reviews on Google, the better?
A lot of them are never going to show up in court.
Yep.
They're never going to be at court. They're never going to be in that door. They get it done. Most of this is a paper chase. They're moving paper all the time, unless it goes to litigation and there's a contest to the will, or there's some error on the deal that's got to get done. You don't find a lot of stuff going to probate court other than somebody going to bang the gavel and say it's over if it's got to get done. In most cases, that's a paralegal that's showing up there with paperwork. Now that depends on the local market. I'm not going to say it's always that way, but your best opportunity is to go sort your list by the, get your list of leads, and we furnish you with the attorneys sort it by, whose name is appearing the most. That's the person you want to work with to start with. And flip side to that is if you see somebody that's new, but every month, this person is showing up with one or two, they're not maybe the top dog. Well, that's a growing person. That's somebody you want to build a relationship with because that's the acorn that's going to grow into an oak. Just be smart. I mean, it's just, this is basic blocking and tackling. It's not just, this is not just a real estate thing. Same way in any kind of business.
Mhm.
Definitely. Thanks so much for your information, guys.
Thanks, Andrew.
Great
Appreciate it.
questions. Thank you.
All right, James, we'll come to you here in just a moment. I do have two other chatted in questions. I'm going to address one right now, and then Tim is going to readdress it after me to clean up any liability that I'm creating. So should we verify the do not call list? Let me tell you guys, All the Leads is not in the business of telling you how to operate your business. We're going to give you the correct information and the correct data, and that's why we flag the phone numbers on our list that are on the do not call list. What you do with those is up to you. So we are not going to tell you what to do with those. There is absolutely 100% liability in calling and texting someone on the do not call list. There is also absolutely 100% liability and cutting out 90% or 80% of the phone numbers on your list. You're either going to run the risk of making someone really mad or threatening you or suing you or something like that, or you're going to run the risk of not prospecting 90% of people who are going to sell a house. So choice is going to be yours. All right, Tim, how should I have said that better?
You're getting better. You're getting better at the dance. I mean, the reality is we are doing what we have to do to make sure that we're not encouraging you to go break the law. I encourage you to become familiar with the TCPA. That's the law that pertains to this. There is a copy of it on our website in the frequently asked questions. You should read through it. You should become familiar with it. Risk management is your business. We do our job by letting you know that this phone number is on the do not call list. I can tell you that that phone number is probably going to get phone calls from other people, whether it's you or not. The other side of that is that the reality is that if you have a claim against an estate and the personal representative has that phone number as a published phone number, then that's there for a reason. If you got to make that claim against the estate, person has to take that call. Having said all of that, there are other ways to get through that, and that's certainly why we certainly heartily encourage you to make sure that you're doing your mailing, because there isn't any reason not to do that. And we're trying to make sure that you understand that that's a reliable way to do it, and it lasts longer than a phone call that they may or may not answer, even if you do call them. So, there's no substitute. Ultimately, you're going to have to talk to them, but finding the way to do that where you've gotten some permission to do that is a good way to go do that. But we give you the data. You got to make your own choices. If you're asking about re-verifying it, we've usually done it within a few days of you getting your list. It's one of the things that we do. We push it through. We pay a service to make sure that that's up to date the day that we do it. So the best information we can give you, you're likely to not get any better data than we're going to give you out of that list. But your decision about whether to call or not is up to you.
Perfect. All right. Name from the past, and I don't mean a long time ago, James. I've missed you, brother. What can we help you with?
Hey, how's it going, Bruce? Hey, Jim. Hi, Tim. Hi, I have a question of a potential PR. Well, it's a PR. It's going to be a potential client. So far, I think he's in a little bind. He tried to outsmart the system. He claimed all his estate is worth less than $50,000, even though he owns an apartment. So he went through like a streamlined process, and he tried to do everything on his own so that he doesn't have to pay for any of the probate, lawyer costs and all stuff. Obviously, this is a great opportunity for me to get him in touch of a lawyer. We're talking about having a lawyer referrals to bring in a value client to an attorney. But I'm trying to know what is he potentially down the road, what is he facing as one of his roadblocks. Obviously, he's going to try to sell the property, but he's claiming it's less than 50 grand. And here in New York, there's no way, even a co-op apartment, right? So, I just want to be able to lead him. I don't want to tell him what to do as human psychology. I just want to give him the information to warn him, hey, this is what you're going to encounter. Hopefully I'll build enough rapport for him to want to list the property with me down the road.
So you're going to do with him the same thing that I just did with everyone else on the do not call list. Hey, look, I'm gonna help you sell this. I'm gonna help you manage the estate. Here is my CPA. Here's my attorney. What you do and what you claim, that's up to you. I highly advise that you talk to them, because you could have a big tax liability or worse if you don't go through probate. Have a talk with them and tell me what to do. I'm here to help you otherwise.
Title company can also help. Title company may not be able to give you an approved or proof of title if there's hair on it, because of avoiding probate or avoiding the appropriate estate approach to doing it, may not be able to get the title cleared. So you got a bunch of people that can help you do your job, and you really need to get. Bruce gave you the exact right answer. Bring the professionals into the game and say, I want to protect you, I want to help you, but I definitely want to help you get your money, and I'm in this to make money for you. But I want to make sure that I'm not wasting my time as well. And let's be sure about what you're dealing with here. Let's get some good advice. And an attorney may be able to, give you, if you've got a good relationship with an attorney may be able to give you some advice now. If you've got a probate attorney that can tell you, hey, he's really made a mistake here. It's going to catch him, and here's where. That may be a great time to build that relationship. And if you're not already buddied up with a probate attorney, that'd be a great time to do that.
Yeah, no, I'm using this as an opportunity. So the interesting part is he's already being designated as the PR. It's just that his asset is all under 50,000. So now he's in the process of wanting to sell. So I would just want to, and that's exactly what I did. I basically just gave him, go speak with an attorney. He's with the authority, and then once you have a free consultation with him that I have arranged, let's talk about what's your next steps. But I'm just, for my own curiosity, so wanted to be quote unquote the expert, to know it all and advise him. So I was wondering,
is it family property? Is it a family property?
Yes, it's a family property, and he's already been designated as the PR. So he filed the paperwork on his own because it's a streamlined, very, not a valuable asset. So he's already designated as the PR. So now he's thinking about the next step of what he needs to do. Well, obviously he wants to sell the apartment, but at the same time, I just want to, warn him what he's facing with, instead of rather than going through the normal legal channel of filing the right PR or the right probate with the right amount.
What do you think it's worth?
Oh, easily. Just the apartments, about, I'll say 300,000 to 400,000.
Yeah, he's putting a good bit at risk. If he has a court risk, he's putting a lot at risk for saving pennies. That's penny wise and pound foolish. And I think that's the point at which you kind of really need to make sure that you ask him to sit down with him and the attorney. Put yourself in that situation and say, let's go talk to your attorney. You've got to get some better answers than that, because there are laws about that. That's what the law's for.
Worst case, tax fraud, and that's jail time.
Exactly. And it's just not the time to do that, particularly if there's that much equity in it. Is it free and clear?
I'm assuming it is. So the way it is this is a co-op building. So that means they recognize the share of you basically declare each share. The co-op is about 600 shares. So declare $1 each share. So he's saying, this is only worth 600. I was like, well, I'm not sure that's going to fly with the transaction. But without me saying much, I just jumped on it. I gave him an attorney that I want to build rapport with. So I'm trying to use this opportunity to get into the attorneys and just show them that, A, I'm concerned. 2, I want to help solve problems. 3, I want to build rapport with the attorney and the client.
Yeah, and what you just said, it gives you an easy way to do that without calling him out as a thief. If he's got a dollar share in a condo, and that's why maybe he could say, thought I was doing the right thing. Maybe I need your help here to make sure I am, and then take him by the hand and go meet with that attorney. That's the best advice we can give you.
Yeah, sounds good. All right. Sounds for the to confirming that my instinct here, and I appreciate all your help.
Yep. All right. Thanks, James. Okay, folks, I've got a question that was chatted in that's my absolute favorite question of all time to ever deal with. And I'm being dead serious. So Leah, you asked, can you give your best response when a lead answers that they don't need anything and or that they have it all covered, got it all handled? That's my favorite answer of all time, because normally I have presented the value of offering sort of a turnkey or a concierge type of service. And I'm looking for them to reject me because remember, guys, what I value most above everything else on a prospecting conversation is rapport, and how you handle their pushback, their resistance, their objections will dictate whether you gain that rapport or not. So we want to use a Chris Voss label. It sounds like. So no, we don't need anything. We've got it all covered. I'm so glad to hear you say that. It sounds like you guys weren't looking for outside help today. Right, and if you've been through the prospecting mastery class, then you know why I phrase it that way. It sounds like you weren't looking for versus needing help are two different things. And I qualify the looking for help by adding on the last word, which is today. So it sounds like you weren't looking for much outside help today. That will get their agreement. They will feel understood, validated. The last thing that you want to do after they've agreed with you on that is say, but, okay, don't say but. Continue to disarm them by kind of showing them a light at the end of the conversation tunnel. Sometimes things change. Maybe we could keep in touch moving forward. Do you have a pen? Can I either text you or give you my phone number and name right now? Yes. Okay. Does that mean it's the end of the call? No, it's not the end of the call, but what you've now done is effectively disarmed someone. You've built rapport. You've established some credibility with them. They're not going to hang up on you at this point if they think that you're agreeing with them. All right. There are some other techniques that are much more nuanced that I can't get into for sake of time on this, but join Prospecting Mastery and I'll go over it. All right.
Hey, Bruce, also in the sake of time, Roger Lacey just direct messaged me with a great story and a great win. And I would ask him if he could come back next Thursday and start the call with it. We want to be able to devote the proper time to it. So reason for everybody to come back, our longtime subscriber, Roger Lacey, has a great long-term win. I'll give you a clue. It's he accidentally showed up right after a funeral and met everybody. So, but I don't think we could do it justice this week. So I just wanted to mention that.
Besides, Roger's got a cool looking avatar now.
Yep.
Guys, it's top of the hour. It's time to rock and roll.
Perfect.
Just one thing before we jump off. If you're on our mailing list, I assume most of you are. Be aware that our Green Friday that we do every Thanksgiving, we usually put some crazy stuff together, and we sort of call it our Black Friday protest sale. We've extended it through the end of this week, and we had to do that because the author of the Green Friday special, which is yours truly, made it about as clear as mud this year. And I got yelled at by the team and everybody else. And they explained it very well in regard to what we were offering, in particular having to do with postal service pricing increases and things like that. So we've got some great specials running. They are going to be good between now and the end of business tomorrow. If you're considering growing your business, want to make some end of the year investments, there's no better time to do that. That's about the only commercial that we generally sort of do on here. And I usually won't do it, but if you didn't know that it was extended, we did extend it only for those 2 days. And I know that sounds hokey and everybody always says, well, I'll extend it. And they only do it to try to milk more money out of it. But this legitimately, I screwed it up and we put a mea culpa letter out trying to explain it better. So cut me a break so my people don't yell at me. Go buy some stuff.
All right. And Tim, Green Friday doesn't require planting any trees, right? They
It
just
does
gotta
not require planting any trees.
just pick up the phone and make a call. Bruce,
It was
Bruce, you
fun.
want me to close?
Go ahead and close.
All right. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here. I want to particularly thank those that actively participated. I think it's safe in congratulating Tamia Green as being the winner of the week with her two deals she put together. And I want to challenge each of you, take one idea, one thought, one thing that inspired you on this call, go out and put it into practice, and please come back next Thursday and share your results with the group. Have a great week, everybody. Talk to you same time
Ciao.
next Thursday.
Bye now.
Take care.